Sorry I'm late. Woo. But I'm here, y'all. I'm here. Totally called it too. If y'all didn't catch it, I was on Albert's stream earlier this afternoon. And we talked about how, like, you know, we say tentatively 8:30 or whatever our time is, and then it might be like 5 minutes late. And here I am, 7 minutes late. That was my bad, y'all. Good reason though, like it wasn't technical difficulties, nothing like that. It was actually my workplace's, well, our mall's sort of award ceremony for like top this, that, and whatever. I didn't go, obviously. But I found out that where I work, our team got top team for the whole mall. So, which like has never happened, which it should have happened, but never did. So I got that text not that long ago. So everyone's in celebration mode. So congrats to us, you know? About time. We're kind of the glue there, you know? Bringing all the departments together and doing favors for everybody. Constantly. Thanks, Kaiwan. But yeah, so the people that did go, I got a text message from them. They told me the news, and yeah, I'm stoked. I'm not like much of an award ceremony guy, to be honest. You know, I don't like putting on a suit and dressing all up fancy and stuff. You know, if I'm gonna be fancy, I'm gonna do it my way, typically. But yeah, yeah. Who knew? We won, which is cool. But what's up, everybody? Welcome to the General Hospital After Show. I am your host, Dion Gabriel. And you might have caught me earlier on Albert's live stream, where we faced off about Drew Kane, because you know he'll always be coming in the chat and being like, Drew Kane is a good man. And so I was like, well, let's settle this, and we decided to do like a collaboration live stream together, and that's what we did earlier, and it was a lot of fun. Hey, Angel. And Kaiwan and Angel were both there, among others, were in the chat as well for that one. So thanks for tuning in to both of us. Appreciate that. And yeah, we're definitely going to look into doing more together in the future. So when one comes up, we'll let you guys know. Oh, man. But yeah, I hope you guys had a great weekend. Mine was pretty chill. Didn't do a whole lot. Y'all didn't focus on the group, but that's okay. Yeah, sorry guys. It's a little bit, it's so different, like being in like a dual thing, like a dual chat or like a dual live stream. I seldom do it. I've been on Albert's one other time, and I was also on James Lott Jr.'s a couple times as well. And yeah, it was it's hard to pay attention to the chat. First of all, I didn't even have the chat open like when I started, so I literally had to, like, probably not even remotely discreetly, but had to like open up my internet while I'm on the screen with you guys, and like go to the channel itself, and like find the live stream, mute my computer so that it wasn't echoing through. Hey, Sandy. And then thankfully, just as Albert was asking me to read the comment of Nikisha's, which to be fair, I did see her comment because it popped up on the screen that he does his live streams on. But at that point, I had finally gotten to see the rest of the chat. And I tried to pay attention, but you know, we're also trying to talk to each other. So it's a little bit trickier. But yeah. forgive me if if I was a little bit, flustered. It's not too often that I do the collabs, but they're a lot of fun. A lot of fun. And it was fun talking to Albert, if you're there in the chat. It was a lot of fun talking to you before and after the stream as well. But yeah. More to come in the future, I think. If you guys want more, let us know. And we were talking about all the other great streamers for soap operas on here as well. And there's so many of us now, whereas a few years back, you could count on one hand how many of us there were. So yeah. Start doing more collabs with everybody, I think, would be a cool thing to do. I haven't even figured out how to do that on my own stuff yet. So, but as soon as I figure out how to, start having more people on here as well, maybe. If you guys are cool with that. Oh, man. But yeah, welcome to the show, everybody. This was a good week on General Hospital. There was a little bit of everything for everyone this week. I actually really kind of enjoyed it, from the drama with Drew to the tugging heartstring moments of the return of Mike and the confrontation between Brook-Lynn and Tracy, and Laura telling Lulu about her history with being switched at birth, calling back to Jeannie's first story on the show. Plus we got to see the young adult and teen scene doing regular young adult and teen things for the most part. We'll get into all of that, but yeah, I guess we'll kick things off with what was going on in Sunny Corinthos' world this week. But hold on, what were you saying, Kaiwan? So remember a few years back, I will try to find your videos and I will get this one. The one other lady that was kind of like you used to do videos, and that was maybe. Are you thinking about Sabrina? Because Sabrina talked so. For me, the ones that I watched religiously were James's shows and Sabrina's shows were my main two go-tos. Angel, you said I have a question about Rocco. Shoot, we'll be talking about the kids too, but go for it, Angel. Still a little bit 1950s. Yeah, a lot of the seniors grown-ups. Yeah, a lot of the vets this week. But what's your question, Angel? Sorry, as you're asking, I'm just adjusting my notes and my script. Make sure I got all of it. Rocco's either a huge lightweight or his drink was spiked. I mean, honestly, I feel like I don't think his drink was spiked. I feel like he's probably a huge lightweight, and that's probably the first drinks he's ever taken. And he seemed to be, I know we didn't really see him as much, but he seemed to be chugging them down. I feel like that's what they were kind of insinuating. Or there was a bit of a time jump, but who knows. But yeah, we'll get into the teens a little bit later. We'll talk about Sunny first. Sunny was almost killed by an assassin disguised as a nurse this week. Brick thankfully stepped in and realized what was going on and killed her with a silencer. And while all of this was going down, Sunny was in La La Land, which kind of looked like Kelly's, honestly, with Mike working behind the counter. And I love that it was Kelly's, by the way, because it wasn't Bobby's. They went as far as having the Kelly mugs on the tables and the Kelly menus. So, and this, even on the sign on the window was the Kelly sign, just to emphasize that it's not Bobby's. We're back in time to when Kelly's was the thing. But yeah, it's so crazy to think that Mike's Alzheimer's story was 5 years ago. Max and Max Gale, Maurice Pinard, did a wonderful job with it, which is a credit to Max Gale, because this man literally stepped into GH to basically kill off a beloved character as a recast that wasn't around for any of the original story. and still managed to win the audience over. Likewise, Albert. Likewise. Only seen him with one cup, and I was like, what? No, he definitely got another one at some point. We seen him get at least 2. But, yeah. Nah, he was chugging. He was chugging. I'm going to assume that he drank more than what we actually seen, too. But yeah, it's good to see you, too, Albert. It was a lot of fun. We got to do it again soon. Sandy says, it was so good to see Mike. Kaiwan, you said, yeah, Max and Mo, and I always felt like it was a little bit crazy because they didn't really make it seem like he ate the mob. Do you mean like hated the mob? Andrew said it wouldn't make sense for Mike to bring him to Bobby's. Exactly. Yeah, Mike worked there when it was Kelly's, so. But yeah, the collab we did was a lot of fun, Albert, and, you know, going back and forth on Drew and talking about the, you have gray hairs too. Yeah. Yeah. We all do. I'm old, man. I've had gray hair since my early 20s, though. Not even lying. All right. But yeah, it's, you know, it was cool to see Mike again. This time round, Sonny confided in Mike about wanting to get out of the business. Michael's been caught in the crossfire multiple times now. Not to mention Morgan and his unborn child with Lily also died as a result of mob dealings. And that's not even listing off like how many others have been killed or caught in the crossfire over the years at the altar of Sonny Corinthos. And we also know it's not the first time Sonny's talked about getting out. He had the same conversation with Jason not that long ago, talking about how he wanted to pass the business over to Jason, which Jason declined because he ultimately decided to start putting his family first. About time he did that. And once Sonny woke up from his fever dream, he talks about getting out of the mob with Jason again. Not to like pass some business on to him, but like to figure out what he's gonna do. And what do we think? Do you think it will actually happen? Because it certainly feels like they're laying the groundwork for it. They've got Sonny being on the verge of losing his peers to the Esplanade Project, and him having to decide, you know, whether or not to fight his oldest friend Laura on the matter if people of Port Charles vote on it to happen. And then you also have Sidwell dipping his toes in everything Sonny already has, with everyone just sort of giving into it. I don't know if Maurice is planning on actually retiring anytime soon, but I'd say if the plan is to get Sonny out of the mob, and the narrative we've always kind of heard on the show is that no one ever really leaves the mob, then I feel like the only way to do it properly is for him to go out in a blaze of glory, in like the mob story to end all mob stories, you know? Whether or not that means facing off with Sidwell, killing him and dying in the process, or some other way, I feel like the audience at this point is kind of owed that much, you know? Like, personally, I would love nothing more than for GH to get rid of the mob stories altogether. Because as exciting as they had been in the past, they really got more stale as the years went on. And it really boxed in GH in a way that I think really hindered the show. Because you have this character of Sonny Corinthos who is very popular, obviously, among the GH fan base. And because of that, the writers have probably always felt obligated to make sure he never loses. So every time a new enemy came in, we always knew how the story was going to end, thus making it kind of predictable. And on top of that, characters who are supposed to be heroes end up looking incompetent or shady, like the PCPD, and the once respected, believe it or not, WSB. So I just think that when you have a show that doesn't have clear good guys and bad guys, it ends up just being a bunch of morally gray people doing things at random. And when you get to the end of the story, it always falls flat with no clear winner and no real resolution. So that's just my thoughts on that. And to that end, we're going to talk in a second, about who might have gone after Sonny. But I went on a tangent there, and I've been reading the chat. Sorry, y'all. I had to rant about it. And that's okay, Sandy, that you had to run. We'll see you next time. Albert said, yeah, definitely looking forward to the next one. You're awesome. You're awesome too, man. It was fun chatting with you this time. It's like, I don't know. It's been such a thing on like our chats to like, you're like, every time you come in and say Drew's a good man, I'm like, we gotta settle this, dude. But yeah, no, like we should like, I don't know when and where, but like we should definitely plan to like do like a full on just like going back and forth on the show in general. Angel said they've been there since I was in my early 20s. I have 2 gray hairs. Oh, I have way more than 2. Angel said it would have been interesting to see Jason and Sunny leave the mob with Sam still alive. That would have been a great storyline for J-Sam. It would have been. It would have been. It's too bad that Jason didn't realize the importance of family until after Sam kicked the bucket. But it is what it is. All right, but yeah, let's talk about who might have been going after Sunny. It's been hinted on at more than one occasion that Jack Brennan might be the one going after Sunny, and obviously Sidwell is another suspect. But to me, Sidwell is likely just the red herring here because we already know he's after Sunny. We already know that. So, like, Sunny already knows that Sidwell is going after him too. Oh, Albert, you said, what did you think of the Cameron clip I showed? Well, I've seen the clip. I had seen it before you showed it. Because, you know, I do be keeping up whenever GH cast members do interviews. I always try to watch them. Because I'm always intrigued to hear what they have to say. And certainly that's the case with Cameron Matheson with how hated his character is. So I've seen him on is it Kelly and Ryan? The talk show? As well as when the GH cast went to Jennifer Hudson's show. Turning 35 next Sunday. I am turning 35 in September, yo. Hey Nathan. Hey Allison. Kelly and Mark, thank you. I knew that like it's her husband now. I forgot her husband's name. Maybe Sidwell, Jerry Jack's brother. I don't know. We'll see. But yeah. So like I said, I think that Sidwell is just a red herring. And the thing is, like I said, Sunny already knows that Sidwell is going after him, but they are still framing this part of the story as a mystery as to who's going after him in these ways. So if I were to pick the person most likely to have done this out of the two of them, my money would be on Jack. I mean, come on, Jack just happened to be going to LA and is the first WSB agent at the scene of Sunny's assassin attempt. And he just so happens to be enamored with Sunny's ex-wife, at the start of all of this. And he just happened to manipulate Carly's daughter into being a part of the WSB while he was trying to get Jason to be a part of it. Like, I don't know. There's just too many coincidences here. So, he was trying to get Jason to be a part of the WSB. And one coincidence is one thing, but several, it seems the writing is on the wall to me. Of course, they could both just be anvils, and it could be like Selena Wu pulling the strings, or even Drew. Maybe Michael was actually the target of the firebomb, and Sunny would have just been an added bonus for him. I don't know. Just thoughts. Because Drew is a bad man. Okay? Oh, man. But yeah, it would be wild if that was the case. But we've spent what feels like forever seeing people talk about how Drew hasn't been himself lately. And me and Albert, we talked about this on his channel as well earlier today. But yeah, like that was several months before he and Willow even kissed, or even before he hopped into bed with Nina. maybe this is how they'll define it, you know? Maybe that's going to be the case. All right, and good night, Albert. Have a good night. Allison thinks it's Jack too, yeah. How can Drew get money like that? I don't know. I mean, we don't really know what his funds are. He had Aurora for a long time. He had stocks in ELQ for a long time. Like, surely he's got things saved somewhere. I'm sure he's got a fund and connections of his own, you know? But yeah. And again, that I don't actually believe that theory that Drew is the one that did it. I'm just making jokes here. But like I think like it's most likely Jack. It's most likely Jack. But you know, they could throw a twist. That's just my, you know, cockamamie theory that I don't actually believe is true. But like, I'm spitballing there, you know? But anyway, back to Sonny. One of his biggest supporters since he's arrived on campus is Gio. But thanks to Tracy, Gio is starting to question if he's wearing blinders towards Sonny or not. Jason happened to walk in on their conversation at one point, and she insisted that he share the story of what Sonny did to his brother. Jason, he had advised Gio to just forget what he heard, but since he couldn't, Jason told him the truth, that Sonny killed AJ to protect Ava, whom it looked like he was attacking, which I guess he technically was, but not for no reason. Keep in mind that AJ at the time had just found out that it was Ava who murdered Connie Falconeri, which he was being framed for, due to the unfortunate way that Connie named her killer before she died, writing the letters A.J. in her blood, which was actually just Ava Jerome's initials. So that was unfortunate. But let's face it, Sonny had been looking for a reason to kill him for decades. I do wonder how Gio would feel if he knew about the meat hook incident with AJ. I wonder, because he seems to be like not even being able to grasp Sonny murdering anybody. I mean, Sonny shot Dante, for God's sakes. You know? I'm surprised Dante didn't die right there and then. But yeah, I don't know. Gio's gonna have to do some soul searching, you guys. And probably some research on his own end. Surely, like, if he looks into it and he talks to enough people that have known Sonny for years, love him anyway, but like know his dark side, I think that they would be honest with Gio. Because Gio's, you know, he's not a kid anymore. He's an adult. He has the right to know and make his own decisions based on information that he will be privy to, should he ask everyone. And Angel, you said it's either Brennan or someone else involved in spy stuff. Maybe it's the Dalton professor guy. Let's talk about that. So we'll talk about Jocelyn's mission. So the WSB, for whatever reason, needs her to become this Professor Dalton guy's research assistant, a position that Emma is currently going for as well. And because Jocelyn came in late to the party, she's going to have to take some drastic measures to make sure it happens, including betraying Emma, who really on Jocelyn and her's best day, they're more like frenemies than friends. But Jocelyn knows she has to do what she's asked by the WSB. So before we get into how she pulls it off, though, we need to discuss some of the scenes that took place leading up to this. So Jocelyn found out that Dalton was going to the Savoy and followed him there so she could lay it on thick in terms of how interested in his class she was. But while she was there, he was chatting up Anna Devane. This was clearly their first time meeting. And during their conversation, Anna learns that Dalton transferred from the same school Emma went to. So as much as she thinks she had learned from Emma about what really went down at her school, even she's starting to realize that there's more that meets the eye than what's been said so far. Anna confronts Emma on this the next day, and she comes up with a pretty decent excuse, but not decent enough for Anna to completely buy it. So she basically said, it's a coincidence that he's here, but I was interested in his class when he was teaching in LA and didn't get in, so I tried again here, is the story that she spun. So between this and the NDA that she's had, and the fact that she's trying so hard to become his assistant, it kind of feels like the writing is on the wall that she is likely already a WSB agent herself. And I know that some of you guys have kind of thought that that might have been the case. I'm buying it more now. You know, and I feel like she was likely roped into it because of whatever crime that she committed at the school, maybe. I don't really know the truth. And, you know, we've not seen proof of this either way. The only thing in question is why they would be pinning Emma and Jocelyn together, or against each other rather, to try and complete the same mission. Yeah, that part I haven't quite figured out, but maybe it's just another test to see who the better agent would be. I don't know. Kaiwan says, yeah, Dante didn't even tell him. Well, yeah, it's a weird thing for it to come up in conversation. Yeah, Kaiwan, you think it could be the professor guy, too? Angel said he probably only heard good things Sonny did. It's like when you grow up and find out the family secrets. Yeah, it's true. I don't think she wants the professor. I think she's wanting to like go after him because the WSB wants her to go after him. I don't think it's like, you know, a sexual thing. But yeah, we already know that Emma wanted to be one. And she loved going on capers with her grandma Anna. So it makes sense to me. But yeah, I guess we'll see how that plays out. But anyway, so when an opportunity comes up at the college bonfire party at the lake for Jocelyn to make her move to take this flash drive that Emma has, that's going to get her in to become his assistant, she basically gets her like hot handler guy Vaughn to help her. She manages to steal Emma's flash drive while Vaughn kind of lured Gio and Emma to the water at the lake. And you know, she got it copied somewhere, I don't know where, and corrupted it, but she didn't get a chance to put it back into Emma's clothing before Emma got back to land. So they're gonna have to figure that out on Monday. I'm slowly starting to warm up to the story. I'm not gonna lie. I've been giving it a hard time, but like it's getting more and more interesting to me. We'll see how I feel, you know, once we actually figure out why the mission is happening in the first place. But yeah, I'm more intrigued now. Joss, Emma, and Gio were not the only people at this party. Angel was mentioning it earlier. Rocco was there, and he was actually there with Danny. They snuck over to the party after their plans with Lulu and Dante got canceled. At the time, they got in a bit of trouble for leaving the Quartermain boathouse a mess and were sent there to clean it up, which gave them the opportunity to sneak away to the party. Now, Rocco was super shy and awkward, whereas Danny was super extroverted and showed him how to blend in by having a drink in his hand. But just, you know, to be fair, Danny did sort of say, you don't have to drink it, you just have to hold it so that you look like you blend in and belong here. Danny was trying to flirt with the girls, which Rocco wasn't comfortable with, so he just kind of stayed behind and ended up drinking to the point of passing out, apparently. Danny was caught by Jocelyn at the time, but since she was in the middle of her own mission, she was like, neither of us were here, and just moved on with her day. But hopefully Danny manages to find Rocco, because he's just passed out in a bush. But I have no doubt that these two will be in a boatload of trouble. You know? Man. But it is nice to see, like, the high school kids acting like high school kids, sneaking into the college party, trying to flirt with the older girls. It's you know, it's very seldom that we get to see like teenagers be like acting like teenagers on the show. Allison says that's such a mean thing for Joss to do to Emma. It is, but it, you know, if Emma ends up actually being a WSB agent, then like, I guess it's fair game for those two. Time will tell. Time will tell. But yeah, let's quickly touch base on Trina and Kai, since we're kind of on the theme of the younger cast. His surgery date arrives, and Kai's not only having to prep for it, but he's also having to do it with a camera to his face. Sans Drew, because of what Drew's currently dealing with, which we'll get into in a minute. But Kai asks Trina if she's okay with being a part of the documentary, and she reluctantly agrees, but it does end up being the way that he asks her how she feels about him referring to her as his girlfriend. Despite dating, they've not really had that conversation yet. They've not put a label on it, but they might as well at this point, because they clearly are boyfriend and girlfriend at this point. But once he's taken into surgery, she ends up waiting in the lounge where Jocelyn and Emma were waiting there to support her. This, of course, was before they went to the bonfire. The cameraman wanted to get shots of Trina waiting in the waiting room, but Emma and Jocelyn saw that she was uncomfortable and refused to sign off on permission for themselves to be used in the footage, and sat on either side of Trina and made him leave. I actually really like that scene. I love how fiercely protective of Trina that Emma is. It's nice to see Trina have another girlfriend that has her back. And it really seems sincere with Emma. And I love that Emma and Jocelyn, they're not letting their sort of history get in the way of both having a friendship with Trina. I like that about their friendship. Allison says, yeah, probably it's a normal thing for teenagers to do. Yeah, considering what we usually see them go through on the show, it's nice to see them just go to a college party and drink. Kaiwan, you find the document... Oh, you find the story a little bit annoying. Why is she mean to the documentary guy? Well, probably because she's stressed out, Kaiwan. Like, she's stressed out over the situation. She's worried sick for Kai, and she's, you know, like this whole documentary is making it look like an optimistic sort of situation, and it really isn't. And, you know, she's not comfortable with that. So, I don't know. Like, it's and to be fair, like, Trina wasn't really mean to the documentary guy. Like, Joss and Emma were kind of the ones that kind of went to bat for her when they didn't really have to, because she was gonna be, you know, she agreed to being filmed, and Emma and Jocelyn just read the room and acted accordingly. So I don't think she was that mean to him. But all right, let's talk about Drew. We obviously got into it a bit on Wednesday, and we obviously got into a little bit of it on Albert's stream as well. But just to quickly recap, Portia and Nina made a plan to have a sex worker named Jacinda to drug Drew and make him look bad in public. And the plan certainly worked, especially since half of Port Charles happened to be at the Savoy, including Lulu, who filmed it and sent it to the press. I knew from the jump that this was not going to pan out in a flawless way, though. In fact, I called it on Wednesday's stream. I was like, Drew doesn't really drink. He's not known to do drugs. No one's going to really buy this completely. And we're even seeing characters who literally despise him saying the same thing. So in my mind, there was no way Willow was going to buy this so easily either. It played out still in a very entertaining way regardless. She had no access to her phone, so she was blindsided by the whole thing when she got back to Port Charles. There was all these press outside the house. She goes into Drew's room, and Drew is passed out naked in his bed, while Jacinda is half-dressed in Drew's clothing, trying to get out the door. And she stormed off and went crying to Nina, devastated at this turn of events. Drew eventually comes to and finds out from Alexis what happened that night. Alexis went there to pack a bag for Scout and insists that she needs to stay with her until this is resolved. And yeah, you called it now. He thinks Tracy did it. Yeah, I called that too. I was like, he's going to think that Tracy drugged him because she was the last person he seen before he blacked out. So, like, you know, like, okay, so just to walk back a little bit though. So, Drew, you know, he shows up at Nina's house and is begging Willow to see that something is wrong. He thinks he was drugged, all this stuff. Nina was trying to be in her ear and trying to be like, you know, like, you need to get away from this guy. But, you know, to that end, like, I said it too, like, Drew's not known for drinking and drugs. So, like, I can't even blame Willow for being suspicious of what really went down. And so, you know, he goes to GH to get his blood tested. What I was surprised about was that Nina didn't give Portia a heads up or anything, but, you know, so to that end, like, he got Dr. Isaiah to do the test, himself personally, so I don't know if that would have worked or not. Needless to say, the test showed that he had ketamine in his blood, which is enough to convince Willow that he was drugged and to go home with him, despite Amy being like, girl, you could have done better than a guy who cheats on you. No surprise there. Of course, Willow. But yeah, and then Drew had seen Mac talking with Felicia and tells him that he's been drugged and would like an investigation to take place. And he asks, you know, Mac asks who was around when he had the first drink, and of course it's Tracy. So, yeah, called that shit from the start. Y'all know I don't even read spoilers. This was just as predictable as it was gonna get. Still, I loved the scenes of Carly being flabbergasted and ecstatic that Nina had pulled it off, at least till she learned that it was just ketamine, which evidently is easily traceable. And, you know, she realized how Willow was going to end up believing him regardless, which she did. I also loved the scenes of Tracy laughing her ass off at the footage as well. Now, we got to talk about Tracy because at the end of Thursday's episode, she learns from Brook-Lynn herself that she had a baby in high school and gave it up for adoption. But we got to backtrack and talk about how we got up to those scenes. I think Drew is a good man. But see, Albert, I was going to say, see, Kaiwan, Albert even doesn't think he's a good man. He's just trolling. He's a pretty big scumbag. His only conclusion was that other people are trash too. So he thinks the hate is a little much. But Drew is a bad man. He's a scumbag. Albert said it himself. But no, he's right. Like, everyone, there's a lot of people that have done worse. But, you know, for me, and we talked about this there, it was just the jarring, like, way that it was written. That suddenly he was just this bad guy. And how the story of him kind of becoming bad was like, it seemed to be insinuating something at the start of it, and then that part was dropped, and now he's just bad, and no one's really questioning why. He's just bad now, and everybody hates him for it. But yeah, so anyway, let's talk about the scenes leading up to Brook-Lynn confessing to Tracy. So Lulu had been working on her article about adoption, and when Brook-Lynn got wind of it, she obviously confronted Lulu and told her to back off, and it was really eating away at her. We also got another really good scene of Lulu asking Laura about her adoptive family, which is interesting because I kind of forgot that this was something that happened with Laura. She wasn't actually adopted, she was switched at birth, and eventually entered her biological mom's life, Leslie, after Leslie discovered that Laura was the daughter she gave birth to. Laura, being Laura, sees that this adoption piece meant more than meets the eye to Lulu and calls her out on it. And Lulu decides to confide in Laura without revealing, you know, the affected parties. And Laura advises Lulu to back off because, you know, she has the power to be playing God with these people's lives, and that's not right. And Laura basically just told Lulu to put herself in Brook-Lynn's shoes. I do think that there is, like, it's eating away at Lulu because she loves Dante. She wants him to know that he has a son out there. Feels like he has the right to know, and in a way he does. But you know, there are other circumstances like Gio. She doesn't even know. Well, first of all, no one knows it's Gio in the first place, but she doesn't know that his child is aware or not aware that he's adopted, and it would be upheaving his life and also ruining, you know, the friendships between Brook-Lynn and Dante and the Falconeries and the Cirillos. So there's a lot at stake here. Now, meanwhile, Brook-Lynn confides in Chase about Lulu writing this article, and he beelines it to Lulu's house to threaten her, only she wasn't there at the time, Dante was. So now we have Chase having to try and convince Dante to convince Lulu to back off without revealing the secret, and of course, his and Brook-Lynn's reaction doesn't make any sense to Dante, but he sees that Lulu's article is hurting them, and ultimately decides to ask Lulu to back off when she does return to the house later. Lulu doesn't want to because she's trying to get her career back up and running, and Dante calls her out on her stubbornness, and somehow all of this leads to Dante admitting that he still loves Lulu, still in love with Lulu. That seemed weird and random to me. Like, you know, he did mention that he knew that she's still in love with him, and that Maxie had told him that. And that's when he admitted that he's still in love with her too. And again, not exactly where I thought the conversation was going, and it was jarring. And it's not that I didn't think that he was still in love with her. The writing has been on the wall back when he was spending every waking moment with Lulu and her dying body while Sam was still alive. You know, like, in all honesty, if Sam was still alive, he'd probably already have cheated on her by now with Lulu, I'm guessing. But the point is moot. So, right now, Dante is still grieving Sam, though. But these two are obviously on a journey to find their way back together. I low-key still want to see Lulu with Cody, though. There just seems to be a bit more ease and chemistry between them than there is with Dante and Lulu. Obviously, part of that is that Lulu and Dante are having to walk on eggshells when it comes to their feelings, as to not upset or offend each other. But the other part of it is that Lulu would probably be in a better position to meet and date someone new that isn't a constant reminder of the 4 years that she lost. And Cody kind of fits the bill, and they have built quite a nice friendship as well. And personally, I think that they have more chemistry than Cody does with Molly. Well, that's just my opinion. Laura came on the show in 1973. Being completely bonkers right now. But yeah, going back to Brook-Lynn though, while Chase was out trying to convince Dante to make Lulu back off, Brook-Lynn had a complete meltdown on Tracy, who was praising Lulu's name for her footage of Drew, which Brook-Lynn snapped at. And Tracy demanded an explanation, and Brook-Lynn dodged it for a while until Tracy mentioned how baffled she was at how self-conscious she was about Lulu, and then Brook-Lynn blurted out the truth, all but who the father was. So Tracy knows that Brook-Lynn had a baby, the father doesn't know, she gave the baby up for adoption, the family doesn't know except for Lois and Gloria. And Tracy was shocked and devastated that Brook-Lynn felt like she couldn't confide in her. And, you know, Jane Elliott, like, all I did was clap. And even my mom, like, we were both just like, watching those scenes in awe of, like, how incredible she was in those scenes and how emotional she was. Yeah, I'm just grateful that we get to see Jane Elliott on the show. Because of scenes like Friday's scenes. But yeah, in the end, Tracy now understood where Brook-Lynn was coming from when it comes to Lulu. And would now ease off on all the Lulu praise a bit for her sake. But Tracy is Tracy, so she does decide to confront Lois. And those scenes are going to play out in tomorrow's episode, I'm assuming. And I'm excited for that as well. I don't think Lois will do well under pressure from Tracy. And I think that there might be a chance that she actually admits to Tracy that her son is Geo. But we'll see. We'll see. I don't know. And anyway, Brook-Lynn goes to the kitchen where Maxie happens to be earlier. Earlier she was with Lois and Lucy doing nurses ball prep, and that's why Maxie was at the house. And Lois had told Maxie, who gets a sense that there's something off with Brook-Lynn, to just be kind to her, and when she's ready to confide in her, to be there for her. And so, Maxie, she decides to ask Brook-Lynn what she needs from her, and Brook-Lynn's like, I need you to pick a side between me and Lulu, because neutral ground with Lulu is no longer an option for Brook-Lynn. Now, for me personally, I don't like that. I don't like when friends give you ultimatums like that. Someone telling me to pick a side of a fight that isn't mine to have or resolve, like that rubs me the wrong way a little bit. And it, like, for me personally, it automatically has my first response being to go with the person that isn't asking me to choose a side in this fight. Like, I'd be like, okay. Like, the only circumstance where I wouldn't do that is if, there are things that are just too disturbing to overlook, as long as there is a lot of evidence to back it up. But in a situation like this, I'd probably tell Brook-Lynn to shove it, unless she planned on telling me the whole truth. But also, to that end, even if she does tell Maxie, it does put her in a rough spot as well, because her and Dante are good friends as well, and she would likely feel obligated to tell Dante the truth too. And so she might, Brook-Lynn might lose Maxie anyway. But what do you guys think? What would you guys do in Maxie's shoes here? Because it's a complicated situation. Sorry, I'm now catching up with the chat a little bit. What happens when I go on a tangent, y'all? Angel, you said there would have been a full-blown love triangle with Lulu, Dante, and Sam. Yeah, probably. Then a square with Jason leaving the mob. Yeah. And it would have been far more interesting than what we got now. Probably. Kaiwan, you said the story is ramping up. Don't think it's gonna be a good surprise, because he's not an interesting character to me. I don't know. I think that Dominic could potentially knock it out of the park. I like how Dominic plays anger when he gets to be angry. And this would be, like, emotionally heavy. So this, like, a story like this could really test, the level of skills Dominic has for acting. I'm intrigued. I think he can pull it off. Brook-Lynn says, hi, Dion. Hey, Brook-Lynn. I can't wait for Dante to find out the truth, and it's going to be a mess. Dante's going to feel betrayed. Oh, yeah, for sure he will, by everybody. His whole damn family, his friends. Lulu. Eesh. Allison, you said you'd tell Brook-Lynn to knock it off already? Yeah, I get that. I don't think that at all. Sam was still on the show. Lulu would still be in a coma for now. Well, no, not necessarily, because, like, I'm saying that if Sam stayed on, if Cyrus didn't try to kill Sam, and Sam, gave Lulu her kidney, and Lulu ended up waking up, like, Sam would still be on the show. If like, they weren't, writing off Kelly, Sam would still technically be on the show. And I don't think they brought Lulu back because they were planning on killing Sam. I think Lulu was bound to come back. Allison says she's obsessing over Lulu, who's not doing anything to her anymore. Well, I mean, it's not that she's not doing exactly anything. Like, I don't think that she intentionally is taunting Brook-Lynn with the story. Because, again, like, the editor did pick the story for her, but the reason why Lulu gave adoption as one of the ideas is because it's been on her mind, and she is kind of doing homework on Brook-Lynn and probably trying to track down her son on his own, on her own. That's my guess. Allison said, yeah, she needed to come back. Yeah, they could only keep Lulu in the coma for so long. Angel, you said, side note, I did see a ketamine shop next to the Tex-Mex restaurant I was going to. There's ketamine shops? Jeez. I said, I think she did it subconsciously because she doesn't like Brook-Lynn. Yeah, I mean, I think there is part of it that, like, you know, wants... I think there's a part of her that does want Brook-Lynn to really be thinking about what she's doing to Dante. Yeah, that's my question too, Allison. I don't remember ketamine being considered legal. Maybe in like Amsterdam or something. I remember that when they said it was recreational. But like, does recreational mean not legal? Does recreational necessarily mean legal? Like, you can, you know, back when marijuana was illegal, you could still smoke it recreationally. But like ketamine, like a ketamine store, like the only context I have for like a non or unknowing illegal drug, like there at some point a few years back in Montreal, there was this one shop trying to open up a magic mushroom shop, and it kept on getting closed down because it's literally illegal. How they got it as far as they did, I don't know, but it was a thing, and I don't think the store lasted. I didn't really pay too much attention. It was just like a chuckling thing that I had seen, but yeah, that was ridiculous. It was ridiculous. Oh man. Alright, y'all. Well, I mean, that was pretty much like the main stories on the show. The only thing to really talk about now, like, which aren't really big points on the show, but Lucas and Marco, they had a date. And Sid Wills, you know, Marco's father, Sid Wills, showed up at the same restaurant where Lucas and Marco were having their date. Coincidentally. And it led to a conversation between the two of those guys about their fathers. Because, you know, it is the elephant in the room. They both had criminal fathers. And so, you know, there's notes to take between each other. Also, I feel like we talked about it on Wednesday. Christina and Molly confronted Alexis about, you know, basically filing her into an asylum against her will. You know, Molly is still ride or die for Christina now, and Alexis just kind of has to take the beating because she doesn't want Molly and Christina's new budding closeness to get destroyed, but it needs to get destroyed. You know, Christina is a trashy sister. and she's not well mentally. Like, the truth needed to come out right then and there, and I'm so mad at Alexis for not just ripping off the Band-Aid and getting it over with. And I hope to God that sometime this week Alexis pulls Christina aside on her own to tell her what she knows. I am just shocked that Christina truly thinks that there's no way Alexis somehow knows the truth. You know, like, it's like she can't be that dumb. She might be crazy, but she's not that dumb. Or maybe she is. Who knows? And then beyond that, Nurse's Ball. We got a date. It's May 20th. they've been doing these funny social media things where there's news reports on the upcoming Nurses Ball, and they're talking to Lucy Coe, not even Lynn Herring. They're talking to Lucy Coe about like potential performers and what's gonna go down and all this stuff. But yeah, I don't know. But yeah, it was a good week. It was a good week. There was a lot of entertaining things on the show, from the Drew stuff to the WSP stuff to the drama with Brook-Lynn and Lulu and Dante finally getting more interesting because there's more people that are learning the truth. Now that Tracy knows, it's a wild card kind of game on that front. So I'm intrigued to see what happens there. I really want Tracy to shake things up and maybe even use her own resources to track down her kid. If Lois doesn't straight up tell her that it's Gio, I need Tracy to get there and find out who the kid is. Ketamine shop is a pain relief clinic. Okay, well that makes sense. That's fair. All right. Allison, you said tomorrow should be good. Tomorrow should be good. I'm really looking forward to tomorrow's episode on GH. But anyway, y'all, I'm gonna end the live stream here. This was a fun day. Getting to do 2 live streams in one day, kind of a bit of a rush. I liked it. I liked being on Albert's live stream, and getting to go like face to face in like a it's not like we were having like a debate with each other. I think generally speaking, we both agree on virtually everything when it comes to Drew. Like, yes, people have done worse. And the writing for Drew has been all over the place in terms of what he's been doing. And so that part just kind of plays into the hate a bit because it's like, it felt like it was out of nowhere. It came during a time where the writers were all over the place and character continuity wasn't a thing, and there was just so much factors that kind of played into it for me. But yeah, it was a good stream. And if you guys didn't watch it, I did post the link for the stream in the post section of my channel. And I'm sure you guys are already subscribed to Albert, but if not, go and subscribe to him. He's another good soap streamer in general. He talks about all the soaps. I stick to GH. I know my place in this world. But yeah, it's been a good day. It's been a good weekend. But yeah, we'll live stream Wednesday again. I am excited. And yeah, I guess I'll catch you guys then. If you like this live stream, give it a big old thumbs up. Subscribe if you want to, and I will catch you guys this Wednesday. Have a good night. Enjoy your week. See you Wednesday. Mwah.